Wacha kunyamaza kimya na wajiumiza mwenyewe. Usinyamaze ongea.
My name is P.O.BOX. I'm the founder and director at Girl Concern Organization. Girl Concern Organization is a community-based organization, and we are working towards enhancing resilience among women and girls. Among our work is an adolescent girls leadership program that's being supported by Global Fund for Women. And also we do menstrual hygiene and management. We also enhance we also provide safe spaces for adolescent girls and young women. And we've done this through partnership with crowdfunding platforms like Global Giving Fund, Global Giving Platform. And we also do outreach and advocacy against gender-based violence through the Accelerate program that's being supported by GVRC, PSI, and PS Kenya, and also Danida.
Good morning. My name is Ahmed Mohamed Abdi. I work with the County Government of Garissa, Gender Department Deputy Director. Thank you.
I'm Abduhab Ibrahim. I work with the National Gender and Equality Commission based at the Northeastern Regional Office in Garissa. The National Gender and Equality Commission is a constitutional commission that is mandated to promote gender equality and freedom from discrimination for all persons in Kenya, but with a specific focus with the special interest groups, that is women, persons with disability, youth, children, older members of the society, and minority and marginalized groups. The commission is a constitutional commission that was created by the 2010 Constitution under Article 59 and under the National Gender and Equality Commission Act of 2011. We have presence in Garissa that serves the larger northern Kenya counties, that is Mandera, Wajir, and Garissa. Thank you.
Moving forward, we are going to start with our discussion of the day. And on my left, I'm going to ask my first panelist. We do understand how policy can change an individual's life, especially the citizen or the vulnerable community. So how do you think policy can assist in addressing gender-based violence?
Thank you very much, Mhubo. First and foremost, let me take this opportunity to thank the panels for bringing such topic, which is a critical one. GBV is a global issue across the world, and actually the main underlying factors that contribute to GBV are inequalities and power imbalances. When it comes to how policies can end support in GBV elimination, one thing we really need to understand is that the Constitution of Kenya is rich, and Kenya has done a lot of policies that helps in eliminating GBV. One is the Constitution of Kenya, the Penal Code, and then we also have acts that support in eliminating GBV. One act like the Protection Against Domestic Violence Act of 2015 that actually supports in economic abuses, the physical abuses, the emotional abuses, the harassment, all those kind of. The other thing is the Sexual Offences Act. The Sexual Offences Act of 2006 also helps in introduces issues of GBV like rape, defilement, sodomy, sexual assault, child prostitution, child sexual harassment. And then we also have the Marriage Act of 2014 that actually supposedly limits the age limits of marriage. We also have the Matrimonial Property Act that actually supports the rights and responsibilities of married couples. We also have the FGM Act that actually supports in eliminating and abating FGM within the society. The other thing, as a county, we are actually doing a gender policy, which is a customized one. Garissa County has, by 2015 we came up, 2018 actually, 22 as 2018 we came up with a policy that we said should how we could minimize the GBV cases that are happening across our county. And what we actually said is that what are the causes of GBV within our society? What are the contributing factors, and how are we going to minimize these effects? Our gender policy is a customized one, and actually it is, we are looking at ways of eliminating GBV through eradication of maslaha. Maslaha is a key issue in terms of unable to respond to issues of GBV within the county, because when a defilement happens, most of the cases are done through maslaha, and actually it is a thorn on the flesh, and it is one of the factors that actually hinders our justice system for us to reach justice within the society. So we actually domesticating this policy so that maslaha cannot be used on issues of defilement, sodomy, and those kind of stuff. The other thing is how we could eliminate GBV is the issue of the presidential directive. This presidential directive of elimination of GBV of FGM by 2022. We know one thing, that Garissa County is one of the hotspots of GBV, of actually FGM. FGM is commonly practiced here, and actually the prevalence rate is 97 as we speak, and a lot of sensitization has been done within the 7 sub-counties, so that the community understands the effect of FGM. It is a county issue, and we are really addressing it through sensitization. And we're actually coming up with this policy so that this can help us eliminate the vice. The other thing of how we could, the policy will help us eradicate GBV is access to health care. Health care is a critical aspect within the county, especially the rural setup. Mothers are unable to receive the reproductive health system is so low. Mothers are not getting the maternal health cares. The infant mobility rate is very high. Reasons because at the rural centers, women are not accessing the antenatal cares as required. Simply because, for one, most of the dispensaries are being operated by male, and because of the security reasons, women shy off in accessing these health centers. So we came up with a policy that will actually task the county government and Ministry of Health to post female officers at each dispensary, so that our mothers can safely have safe delivery. And then we also have, we also agitating for adoption of holistic approach in health system, because what is happening at the moment is most of these dispensaries are out of, there are not so many dispensaries within the county, so we actually requesting the county government that the policy addresses actually, so that every members of Wananchi within the county are able to access health services. The other thing is clean water. The policy honestly addresses the issues of clean water. We know one thing, that because of the porodic, the porous aspect of our county, people are accessing water, accessibility of water is very limited. So when the mothers or our girls go to fetch water in distance, domestic violence happens. So we actually, the policy addresses how the government would going to resolve those issues of water by probably digging boreholes at the reach of within the setup of that center, and then probably also come up with, if dams are also set, then we can also have having water. I mean, what do we call panels the solar panels, because we have enough solar. We have enough solar, so we actually requested the government to set up a solar panel so that the water can be piped from the main dam to the center, so that the issue of GBB actually reduces, because the land is so densely populated. I mean, it's so densely forested, and what actually happens when the girls go to the dams to fetch, because of the setup, they are at risk of actually in terms of rape and this kind of stuff. The other thing is the police addresses in terms of education. We're actually saying that we need to enroll more girls who are more vulnerable into education system. And actually the other thing is in terms of livelihood, the policy addresses agriculture, bringing food on the table, leadership and decision making is also another item the policy addresses. Yes.
Thank you very much. Maybe a follow-up question to make our audience more aware of when we speak of maslaha, what is maslaha, and maybe you can expand a little bit about what maslaha is. Yeah.
Maslaha is a formal way of dispute resolution, is a traditional way of actually, is an ADR, alternative dispute resolution. But what we are saying is, and what actually the policy addresses is that maslaha, yes, in a one way or the other, it's good. It's a way of actually addressing a solution, is actually addressing a problem. But what we are saying is issues like defilement and sodomy should not be used on maslaha. Because at the end of the day, justice will not be served. Whatever benefit is getting out of the maslaha, the beneficiaries are the wazis, and the survivor doesn't get any justice.
Thank you very much. We normally hear that education is the key to changing somebody's life, and you've also told us the policy encourages the county government to ensure more vulnerable girls are taken or enrolled to education. So how do you think education can be used by the vulnerable girls to assist them in moving away from gender-based violence?
What actually the policy addresses is that, yes, we know education is key to any changes, and that our girls drop schools, and as a community, we always give priority to boys. You will see a father who have 2 boys and 3 girls will give priority to the boys and the girls. And of course, if he has to pay fees, he gives priority to the boys and leaves the girls. So what we are saying is the government to come up with a way of actually supporting the girls in terms of even school fees payment, the bursaries, so that the girls can get equal opportunities like boys.
Thank you very much, and I will testify to what our director was saying of the presidential directive, the activities that has been going on within Garissa County to ensure the presidential directive of ending FGM by 2022 is achieved. Thank you very much for your inputs, and we'll move now to our second panelist, Abdul Wahab. Maybe Abdul Wahab, we often tend to think that survivors are vulnerable and that they are at the end of receiving aid. And we've seen that majority of organizing work, advocacy is being done by survivors and very successful. So how do you think, or what do you think is the importance of amplifying the voices of survivors?
Thank you, Mahabo. Thank you for the opportunity as a girl concern, and also thank you, GVRC, for this wonderful and timely discussion. Because I think we are currently in the context of a global pandemic, not the COVID-19, but also where GBV is also considered as one of the most prevalent form of inequality and discrimination in Kenya. It's also considered as one of the most pervasive form of human rights violations. When it comes to the country, because Kenya is a country that has also high prevalence of gender-based violence, and as per the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, health Household and Health Survey of 2014, we have found that from 15 to 49, women in the age of 15 to 49 have at least undergone either sexual violence or physical violence, either from intimate partners or even from other categories, which stands at 40 to 40.7% to around 50%. That was 2014, but now maybe if we conduct the next KMBS survey, you might find out that it has again gone higher due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Survivors, I think, are considered as one of the most vulnerable human being. When you have undergone a certain trauma, whether it is physical or psychological, I think you are more of vulnerable when compared to others. So I think the best thing maybe as organizations, especially human rights organizations, activists, those case workers who normally have a direct face-to-face or hand with survivors, I think they need to always listen and believe in the survivor. That's the most important point, because if a survivor comes to your center and you are conducting an interview with him, so the most important thing is you need to listen to that survivor. Of late, I think it has changed, but Zaman we used to see when our officers in the police service, when it used to be called the Kenya Police Force, maybe when the girl comes, they used to tell her that what happened, how did he do, a lot of more traumatizing questions. Because if you ask a survivor, how did it happen, definitely that person will go back to where the event happened and try to remember how the event happened. So the most important thing is to listen and believe in the survivor. And when it comes to the cycle of abuse, for you to break the cycle of abuse, the first entry point is that reporting. If the survivor report, if maybe it was a woman or if maybe it was a girl or even a boy, because you'll find out that survivors of sexual gender-based violence or the largely gender-based violence are women and girls, but you'll find out that also boys and men are also victims or survivors of gender-based violence. So for you to break the cycle, you need to get the reporting aspect. So that's why there is a need to encourage stakeholders and organizations to conduct more community awareness so that at least the community can report sexual gender-based violence. So maybe when you are interviewing that person or when you're at least talking to the survivor, you need to show them that you are concerned, you have that soft heart, and you believe in them. So when we say that, we say that the survivors, there's an important aspect as a country we are really not focusing much on it, because I think of the recent period we have found out that cases of sexual gender-based violence are going higher, and it is mostly happening within children. And you'll find out that the perpetrator might be somebody who is less than 18, the survivor is also somebody who is less than 18. So what could be the causes of such incidents? You will find out that we rarely talk to our children, as parents, as also organizations. You go to a community, you have a public baraza, you talk to wazes, you talk to women, but the fact that you are forgetting children is really a concern. And we need to teach the next generation that the difference in the gender roles, what's the difference between a man, a woman, a boy, and a girl, so that when this young boy or when this young girl is growing up, especially in the adolescent stage, that is where you find out that most of these SGBV cases are prevalent in the adolescent stages. And you need to point out to them the stereotypes that are currently happening in the society. For example, in the African context, or maybe let's say to be more specific in the Somali context, a man slapping a woman is just a norm. It's just a normal thing. In the African culture, the same. Maybe if you beat your wife, they even, I think, although it is an outdated culture and at least we are now living, there's even a time where if the woman is not beaten, she will just say that the man doesn't love her. So those are some of the stereotypes. We need to tell them that these are the outdated cultures. You need to treat your brother or your daughter just as a normal human being. And then we also need to call for responses and services for these survivors. If maybe an incident happens in the farthest area of Garissa County, how will that survivor access services? Because a survivor of sexual gender-based violence may require medical services, may require psychosocial services, may also require economic and social services. So how available are these services in our county? That is, I think, the lens we need to have as a society. And the most important part for the government, especially for the county government to do, is they need to devolve these services, the psychosocial support services, the medical support services, the economic and the social support services for these survivors. In most cases, you will find out that both women and girls may not report these incidents of sexual gender-based violence. Reason being that if they report, or maybe if this parent reports that his boy was sodomized, or if the girl was defiled, they will believe that maybe the society will know that, for example, we say Muhubba was defiled by so-and-so, so they think that nobody is going to marry Muhubba. So now Muhubba, or the girl who has been defiled, will live with her psychosocial stress. She will live with that trauma. She will think that nobody will marry her. So completely you have ruined the life of that young girl or young boy. So that's why we are calling for those responses at least to be devolved further.
Thank you very much, Abdulwahab. Maybe a small follow-up question on your end. When you're talking about breaking of gender-based violence cycle through reporting, maybe you can explain more on that.
When we say the cycle of gender-based violence, because if an incident has happened and you just sit with that information without reporting, that's why we are saying the first entry point is reporting. Because if today an incident happens, God forbid if it happens to my daughter or my son, definitely if I just sit with that information and I don't report it, I just keep the young boy or the young girl at home, you have not done anything. So for you to break that cycle, is first you report. After you report, what happens? Definitely if you report to the police station, if the young boy or the young girl is undergoing, if he requires an urgent medical intervention, definitely the police will refer that child to the hospital. But if you don't report, you'll still, maybe that young survivor, the boy or the girl, will just live without stress, without medical condition for the rest of her life. So that's why we are saying at least break the cycle by reporting. If you report, the rest will follow. You report to the police, medical intervention will happen, psychosocial support will be provided, economic and social support will be provided. So that's why we are saying at least our target or our aim should be break the cycle of gender-based violence.
And also when we report the perpetrator, I think they stop doing what they were doing, and justice will take its course. And also, when you talk of teaching of the next generation on the different gender roles, I think it's the gender roles and the gender stereotyping. I think it's a global discussion that's currently going on. So maybe you can explain a little bit about maybe the different gender roles that we need to teach our girls and our boys also.
When we say gender roles, I think these are roles that a certain society assigns specific gender, whether a man or a boy or a girl or a woman. You will find out that in maybe 70 years ago, if a boy or if maybe a man who is married to a wife goes to the kitchen and cooks, it used to be seen as a taboo. But today, if you go and cook for your wife or for your family, nobody will see it as an issue because it has become a norm. So that's why we are saying that roles are always assigned by the society, and it can change in a certain period of time. So if we talk to these children, because children are our next generation, if we equip them with the right knowledge, if we give them the required and the right support, definitely the next generation or the next future will be a safe generation. If you tell them that gender-based violence is something that is considered as a human right violation, we don't need to entertain gender-based violence in society. You will reach a time where maybe in 10 years to come or 20 years to come, you will not be hearing of rape cases happening in Garissa, or maybe defilement cases, or even sodomy. And you will find out that most of the organizations, especially women rights organizations, human rights organizations, and majority of the development partners, we have put a lot of focus on talking about the right of the girl child. We have completely disregarded and forgotten the issues affecting the boy child. As a National Gender and Equality Commission, there is a study we conducted in 2015 on the status of the boy child in Kenya. And you'll find out that in the findings of that report, 90% of the respondents agreed that the boy child has been completely ignored in all the programmatic interventions of development partners, the government, and there's so much focus on empowering the girl child. So I think we also need to relook at our interventions, because the current trend in Garissa, of late for the last 1 year, we have seen that cases of violations against the boy child has gone higher. Issues to do with sodomy, issues to do with assaults, issues to do with indecent acts against the boy child has increased. That could be attributed to the fact that we have forgotten about the boy child, because we are not talking about sexual gender-based violence affecting boys. We are only talking about defilement against girls. We are talking about rape against women. So we also need to tell our next generation that sexual gender-based violence in all its forms is something that we need to disregard. We need to consider it as a taboo, and our young boys and girls, when they're in school, they are not supposed to practice such acts. In our religion, we are told that you are not supposed to do illegal sex before marriage. All sex before marriage is illegal, but in the country that we are in, there is the issue of consent, the issue of age of consent, which is 18 years and above, and the likes. So if we talk to our next generation, especially that is our children, if we talk to them always, have that conversations on daily basis about issues to do with sexual gender-based violence, I believe that in the future, 20, 30 years from now, we will not be having such discussions in Garissa and also in the country as Kenya.
Thank you very much, Abduhab. I think as organization or the ones who are coming up with the program, I think we need to also include our boys and our male counterparts. So thank you very much, Abduhab. Maybe you can give us your closing remarks, and then Hante can also close for us.
Maybe my closing remarks, or maybe more of a recommendation to our government and also to the development partners. I think we all agree that gender-based violence has become a pandemic, and it is really hurting our boys, it is really hurting our men, women, and girls. So I think it is high time the country declares this as a national disaster, so that we can put a lot of effort in fighting this vice. So if we declare gender-based violence as a national disaster, and this is one of the recommendations that was recommended by, there's a report we did as National Gender and Equality Commission on the costing study of the cost of gender-based violence to the economy of this country. Kenya as a country is losing a lot of billions of shillings in these, in seeking services for gender-based violence. Allow me to quote: the mean cost of providing minimum package of gender-based violence survivors in Kenya stood at Kenya shilling 44,717 per survivor. So each survivor on a mean cost spend 44,000, and also on a median cost they spend 43,769. So what does that mean? In a period of 5 years, the country lost 10,798,520,644 shillings. Over 90% of this resource came from the development partners. So if we didn't have that menace of gender-based violence, we could have at least rechanneled that 10 billion that the country has lost to maybe very critical issues like water, issues to do with health, issues to do with livelihood. So I think it's high time as a country we need to accept that gender-based violence is a pandemic and we need to completely fight it. And then the other issue, maybe as a recommendation or as a way forward that can be, is allocation of sufficient funds in these gender-based violence programming activities. You will find out that the gender ministries at the national level and also at the county level, they are one of the least funded departments. So if maybe the country can allocate more funds, I think we can have, at least we can have some further strides in fighting this menace. Another critical one is, my co-panelist has already talked about it, is issues to do with policies and legislation. We have the best policies, we have the best legislation in this country, but unfortunately, they're just there as papers. Daily, you'll find out that county governments, the national government are coming up with new policies, new legislations, new laws, but you'll find out that they're just there. Nobody's implementing them. So if this country, for us to fight or for us to end this gender-based violence, we need to 100% implement our laws and policies. If we implement our laws and policies, we will not be talking about gender-based violence in the 21st century, because this is something that we need to completely finish. The other last one maybe is we need to have more public awareness. The community, there are some communities maybe who are still see that if a man defiles, if a 50-year-old defiles a young girl of 17, 16, 14 years old, they will just see it as a normal thing. That's why they just run to maslaha. They completely solve the matter under the carpet. Why? Because they don't know that this man has ruined the life of this child. Our Jew, they just see it as a normal thing. So I think we need to tell our communities that defilement and the larger sexual gender-based violence is completely something that should not be condoned and allowed in this country. And then we also need to do a lot of capacity building for our health workers. How they need to, the issue of survivor-centered approach, how they need to talk to these survivors, our social workers, the judiciary staff, our security agencies, and also our policymakers need to be capacity built regularly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe Bona Director, your final, your closing remarks.
Thank you, Mahubo. And I think my colleague Abdul Wahab has said everything. But mine is, my part in short, I have 3 recommendations, three requests. The request goes to one, to the parents. The second will go to the government, the leaders, and the third one will go to the religious leaders and the parents. First, for the parents, I think it's all our responsibility to take care of our children. The most vulnerable society, whoever is affected, our children. There are new norms that are actually happening within our society that have not been there. This county is a Somali or Muslim-dominated county, but it's something what we have not been seeing all along is what is actually coming up now. Issues of defiling a 5-year or 6 years old child who wasn't there before. Sodomy was something that was there, and actually it's coming up now. To me, this is totally a parental negligence. The causes of this are just because of parental negligence. I say we parents need to pull up our socks. Let us be friends to our kids. Let us be watching our kids. Let's see what is happening to our kids, so that at least we know what is happening within our surroundings. The other thing is religious leaders. Religious leaders have responsibilities. It doesn't mean that, yes, you are under your own responsibility lies within preaching the holy books. Yes, your responsibility is that, and actually the Quran has clearly said about how these things can be addressed. So I request our religious leaders to address their best forums, even in Friday khutbahs, on these issues of gender-based violence that are actually happening within our society. Let's get out of our norms and address these issues and address it the way it's required. The other thing, my last one goes to the political leaders. The political leaders actually need to put on a gender lens. As my colleague has said, whether it's national, whether it's county, the least funded departments are the gender issues. they normally, everybody will say these issues of women, it's like a women department. And honestly, the most, when we even look in terms of voting, the people who vote mostly are youth and women. So we really need to give support to this marginalized society. Leaders, please open up your eyes, support issues of have a lenders, support issues of gender, and have gender mainstream in that aspect. And the other thing is let's our policy makers, please let's implement what we have, the police and the judiciary and all this. If cases come, please let's do it in the right way. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, my panelists. And I don't want to dilute what you've said. Mine is just small. A recommendation to our viewers. We have a GVRC has a toll-free line whereby you can call in case you are victimized or you are undergoing any form of GBV, or you are with a survivor who wants help. So the toll-free line is 0800 720 565. I shall repeat again, 0800 720 565. And also, as somebody who is currently undergoing, if somebody is currently undergoing a challenge and the perpetrator is next to you, it's actually difficult to seek for help. But there is a current, I don't know if some of you have seen that video, there's a current way whereby somebody can communicate easily and get help. So you just do your hand like this, and then you fold it once, and then you close like this. So Evie, and then close. So that's a sign that's being used currently. If you're undergoing any form of challenge and the perpetrator is next to you, just do this. And anybody who understands that sign can easily assist you. So thank you very much.
Form ni aje, umejiuliza we, hakuna haja kunyamaza kimya na wajumi